On February 18, 2023, the head of state took part in the work of the 36th Conference of Heads of State of the African Union as transitional president. But on this February 15, 2025, he entered the African Union headquarters and the Nelson Mandela Conference Hall as a democratically elected head of state, officially sworn in as President of the Republic, alongside his peers from across the continent and representatives of international organizations. President of the Republic, Marshal Mahamat Idriss Deby Itno, came to make Chad's voice heard, aiming to help Africa write another glorious chapter in its history, in line with the theme Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. Everything began with a minute of silence in memory of a founding father of the African Union, former Namibian President Sam Nujoma, who passed away on February 8 at the age of 95. Welcoming his esteemed guests to Ethiopian soil, Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed acknowledged that Africa has faced challenges throughout its history, but insisted that if better organized, we will succeed. Delivering his farewell address, the outgoing chairperson of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat, provided an impressive summary of his 2 terms. Among other things, he highlighted the admission of the African Union to the G20 and BRICS, the strengthening of partnerships between the United Nations and the European Union, and the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement concluded in 2018. He also noted that he is stepping down at a time when Africa is facing security challenges, along with widespread human rights violations. He deplored the situation currently prevailing in a number of African countries, particularly Sudan, the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Libya, and Mozambique. Not to mention the resurgence of terrorism at Chad's borders and in the Sahel. With humility, Moussa Faki Mahamat stated that he owes a debt of gratitude to the late Marshal of Chad, declaring in this moment of remembrance, "I cannot forget President Idriss Deby Itno, may he rest in peace, who, as a staunch Africanist, took the initiative of my candidacy to head the commission and spared no effort in shaping this destiny for me. His tragic death was my most painful sorrow during these 2 terms of office." Speaking on the occasion, Secretary General Guterres praised the increasingly solid partnership between the UN and the Pan-African Organization and reiterated his call for the reform of the international financial architecture, as well as for a permanent African representation on the UN Security Council. He ended his speech on a hopeful note, saying he dreams of a strong Africa. As the guest of honor at the 38th Summit of Heads of State and Government of the African Union, Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine and Chairman of the Executive Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization PLO, expressed his deep gratitude to the African Union for its unwavering support of the Palestinian people in their struggle for independence. He then urged the Continental Organization to continue its support until the full self-determination of the oppressed Palestinian people is achieved, formally opening the proceedings. The outgoing president of the African Union, who is also president of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, declared that the African Union has reached maturity, but its noble founding objectives have yet to be fully realized. He went on to say that he is handing over the reins to a Pan-Africanist who will do even better, before asking his peers to support the president of Angola. Then followed a remarkable scene of transition between West Africa and Southern Africa. The outgoing president, Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, handed over the presidency of the African Union to the incoming president, João Lourenço. This was symbolized by the presentation of the O flag and a gavel to the Angolan head of state from the podium of the African Union. President João Lourenço expressed his profound gratitude to his peers for the trust they have placed in him and promised to lead the continental institution with everyone's cooperation in order to fulfill the dream of the AU's founding fathers. January 15, 2025 will be recorded in indelible ink in the annals of the history of Angola, brotherly and friendly country to Chad since Joe. Lourenco has taken the helm of the Continental Organization for the first time since his country gained sovereignty and joined the Organization of African Unity, OAU, on February 11, 1975. Now the African Union, O. The overwhelming joy of the Angolan president is shared by his counterpart, the President of the Republic. A new dawn for the African Union. At the break of dawn, in Addis Ababa, a warm light streamed through the tall glass windows of the African Union headquarters. Delegates from all over the continent gathered for an extraordinary session. The air crackled with expectation. For years, the dream of a unified African travel document, one that allowed citizens of every member country to move freely across borders, had hovered just out of reach. But on this historic morning, after countless discussions and drafts, the chairperson of the African Union rose from his seat and made an announcement that set the room ablaze with excitement. They had reached a landmark agreement on a single, secure, and universally recognized African e-passport. Cheers erupted throughout the conference hall. More than just an official document, the e-passport symbolized hope and unity and opportunity for young entrepreneurs to explore new markets, for families to reunite more easily, for students to study abroad without cumbersome visa procedures, and for the people of Africa to feel more than ever like one community. As the chairperson and leaders from each member state put their signatures on the historic charter, cameras flashed and applause swelled. In that moment, it was as if every voice on the continent had joined in a chorus of optimism. Journalists beamed their reports to every corner of Africa, and people everywhere celebrated, proud to witness a milestone that promised to bring them closer to one another. In the corridors outside the signing ceremony, an elderly woman from a remote village in Chad told a young student from Angola, "With this passport, I hope to see the beauty of your country one day." The student smiled broadly and replied, "We'll welcome you with open arms." This agreement marked a new dawn for the African Union, an inspiring step toward integration, prosperity, and a shared destiny for all Africans. And so, on that bright morning, the future of Africa shone just a bit brighter. Thank you for watching Noble Black News.